So our last but not the least panelist is an 8th grader or an 8th standard student from Visakha Valley School in Visakhapatnam in India. And his interests include learning new languages such as Japanese, and he might just be one of the youngest speakers in the history of SSO. So let us all welcome Mr. Rishav Kant.
So yes, good afternoon everyone. Let me just share my screen. So my name is Rishav Kant. I study in 8th standard at Visakha Valley School in Visakhapatnam, India. So education in 21st century, for me, 21st century education is all about giving the students the skill they need to success in this new world, helping they grow the confidence to practice those skills with so much information readily available to them. 21st century skills focus on making sense of that information, sharing and using in the smart way. For me, the key features of 21st century learning are personalized learning, learning through doing, and technology. Personalized learning is a personalized approach recognizes that not all students learn in the same manner. Personalized learning involves differentiate instructions so that the student can learn in ways that suit their personal needs. Educator can adjust their teaching methods in several ways. They can differentiate content difficulties, differentiate mode of delivery, and differentiate assessment strategies. It helps the students to get a good grip at its strengths and tackle its own weaknesses that they may have in their subjects. So the next is learning through doing. The central idea in the learning through doing approach is that we are much better at knowing and remembering and using of that knowledge if we learn actively rather than through passive learning, because most of the students think that they should learn at the speed so that they can just pass the exam or the score proper marks. When we are learning through doing, we get a first-hand experience with applying information to the real world, get the opportunities to learn through trial and error so we know why something is true or not, and learn information that is just not theoretical but can be applied to things in our life somehow. Approaches that has been taken in 21st century by learning through doing. First is cognitive constructivism. This is a theory of learning that we believe learning by constructing ideas in our head rather than having inserted to our mind. Problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a teaching strategy based on cognitive constructivism. It involves learning through solving problems. This is clearly very different to learning by told facts. That's because students are not giving answer to the problem. This helps to create a creative mindset for the student and help them tackle through new questions or any obstacles they approach. And the third is problem-based, project-based learning. In a project-based classroom, student will work on a big project for many lessons, maybe even weeks or months. At this time, students will often work together and use resources around them, like community members or the network to create something new, their project. This helps the student to get a grip on the resources they know and how to work together. Technology, it is very important to use new learning technologies in appropriate ways. Students should not use technologies to prevent them from thinking or help them cheat. Instead, technology should be used to help the student access information or think in a way they could not have done. During this COVID-19 pandemic, also students have done various things with work with computer and they know how to operate any electronics. Improvement in education due to COVID-19. First, students got to interact with the computer and got to know the features of it and use it. With online education, many online education apps and courses appear which allow students to get the education in any places in the world. Many online meeting apps like Zoom, Cisco WebEx, etc. came in the market, allowing teachers to have 100 participants in the same classes. Conclusion is 21st century education is influenced by globalizing rapid social changes and new resources in how people learn and help to take the education to the next level by use of technology and allowing every student to get the education wherever we are. As we all know that the COVID-19 pandemic has allowed us to think in a different way, and we have now used technology in doing various of kinds of things, and it has helped the students to get a better reach in education. As previously students were just taking the book knowledge, but they have a various variety to choose from and what they wanted to learn. So now, before you ask questions to me, I want to ask a question or like your advice on my question. My question for you all is that is there a way to improve online classes than offline classes? As we know that sometimes in our online classes, the participants are high in numbers. Then the teacher could not ask everyone questions. So how will the teacher be sure that every student is in the class, because sometimes some students just leave on the meeting and leave. This accident maybe happen with you also very frequently in the online classes that we are doing in COVID-19 period. So somebody can give me any advice on the question? Anybody?
All right, so the question was, is there a way to improve online classes than offline classes? As we know, sometimes our online classes, the participants are high in number and the teacher could not ask everyone questions. So basically in Zoom, there's just so many faces, just like what's happening now. And how will the teacher ensure that every student in the class, is present? Because sometimes some students is just on a meeting and sometimes they leave. So one of the speakers, could you please answer this question if you have any thoughts about it?
I think a way for us to improve online classes is to create a more interactive classroom. So instead of just having a classroom where a teacher presents and there's a question or answer, the students can create, for example, a Jamboard where they can leave their ideas, or it could be given through a game such as Kahoot that will really help with encouragement. But I feel like that in reality, that a best way to improve online class is to mix it together with some in-person classes so that we'll get the benefits of both.
Thank you for the answer. Anybody else?
How about the other speakers, or as well as the audience, can answer this question? Is there a way to improve online classes for those especially who are experiencing online classes today? Do you guys have any ideas on how you think it could improve? Well, you could agree or disagree. You could agree that it could be improved, or it could not be improved. So it's up to you. Anybody? No? So
Can I make my comment?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe teachers can more focus on like assignments. Maybe this is not about the online class itself, but maybe teachers can give more assignments to students. I don't think this answers the question, but maybe teacher can check the homework and they can get to know like if students are more really interested in the materials and they study hard. Like, do this answers your question? I don't know.
Oh, so he mentioned about giving maybe more
sometimes this could be effective. Sometimes this can work, but sometimes the student can get
I think there's some technical difficulty on
a little creative and they will just copy each other.
Oh, yeah, students can of course copy they work each other. Yeah. But でもなんだろうな. Okay, yeah, I think that was a good response. Yeah, my answer was complete.
All right, so do you have any other questions to the audience? I mean, from the audience to the speaker. So I think I'd like just input, I guess, on the question of Mr. Rishav about the way to improve online classes and the answer earlier. So it could burn out the students if students are given a lot of homeworks. And given that it's online, it's much harder for them to learn. I think that's what we heard from our first speaker today. So I think one way to improve online classes is through engaging the students more into not only the academics, I mean, not pressuring them into these deadlines and giving them breaks. For example, at least in some of the universities that my friends are in, they have these things called academic break, wherein students are given the freedom to take a rest and take a breathe from the homeworks that they have because of the pandemic that's been going on. So for example, their families or their relatives are in the hospitals, and everything in the news also is just so negative, and that could impact our mental health. And so that's why I think having academic breaks or academic easing would even give more incentive to the students, and in turn give them more advantage or give them more knowledge, because they are more open and they're more, I guess, say fresh when they come back from the academic easing, I think, or at least. Yes, please, Mike Magnayev, you can open your camera if you can.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm also an architecture graduate from UST. I'm
Nice
friends
to
with
meet
Lev,
you.
but I could just add some inputs to your question. So we basically adapted our studio setup with online classes wherein we are um, put into the Zoom with a fewer number of students with regards to the
Mhm.
teacher. So like for our whole studio session, we have like 6 hours to do everything. Then we were divided into three groups. Then we were given 2 hours each with our uh, teacher. So it could be like it could be much more focused with that regard, given that we are a much more intimate we are in a much more intimate setting rather than given our current uh, practices wherein one teacher is put in front of, say, 40 students at the same time, which would be, well, to my perspective, be more catastrophic with regards to focus. So that's what I think would improve online classes where the participants are high. You could divide that into smaller parts so that it could be more intimate and focused.
Yes, that could be really helpful in the online classes. Thank you for your answer, Mike.
All right, so thank you, Mike Magnayev, for that input on the question of Rishav. So Rishav, do you think your question has been answered yet?
Yeah, my question has been
Hmm.
answered.
All right, so I think it's also very
Stop the sharing.
inspiring. Yeah. So I think it's also very inspiring that you are also just an 8th grader and yet you are willing to be a panelist for SSO. I think this is also one way of, this is also one of the benefits, of having an online setting wherein people of different backgrounds or different ages could meet together online and to communicate with each other and learn, connect, and respond with each other. So I think it's a very inspiring thing that you're doing to be a panelist in SSO. But before we end, does anybody
Thank
else
you.
have any last questions for Mr. Rishav? Yes, you may open your mic.
Me? Oh, okay. Actually, I
Yes.
have a comment on your presentation. Yeah, it was really awesome. It was really, yeah, insightful. I liked it. Personally, I liked the part you were saying something like students shouldn't use the technology to hinder their thinking, but they should use the technology to make themselves creative. Personally, like, do you think technology makes you creative? That's my question.
Personally, technology does not make think us creative. It's the way how we use the technology. If we want to be creative, we can use to learn some soft skills, as many presentation has been shown. But if you want, you can also see and get a way to cheat in the exam. So it's depend on your uses, how you want to use your technology in your advantage.
Great response. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. I mean, it really depends on the morality of a person, but of course, everyone has the responsibility to be a responsible internet person. So yeah, so thank you, Rishav, and for the audience for inputting their answers to the question and as well as questioning our speaker for today. All right, so next. I'm sorry, next. Yes. So now that we have finished all of the 4 speakers, well, we are a bit ahead of time, but I guess this is a good thing. So to award our speaker, our first awardee is Mr. Gio Almonte. This is a certificate of appreciation for sharing their knowledge as a panelist at the 6th Student Speak Out event held on the 19th of February 2022. So Mr. Gio Almonte, everyone please give him a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much for having me.
So do you have any message before, while you're receiving your certificate, digital certificate?
I just want to say thank you for having me, and I just want to invite everyone in the audience to join our event, which is the 8th De La Salle Model United Nations. So you can message me for more details. Thank you.
Yeah, so as he mentioned, it was one way to, it's one way of like the 21st century education, right? To be involved in different organizations or panel discussions as well. So thank you very much, Mr. Gio Almonte. Next, our next awardee, Sumati Sinha. So thank you very much for sharing your knowledge as a panelist at the 6th Student Speak Out event held on the 19th of February 2022. Please give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
So do you have any last messages about your speech or about what you want to last share to everyone?
I just want that people should be honest with them and mental health problem because of society and my education policy. Indian education policy and mental health. So I think that society should be changed in this matter.
Yeah, so advocating for mental health of the students during the 21st century learning. I think, yeah, that's very important, especially that it wasn't recognized as much before it now in the previous time. So thank you very much again, and thank you for being one of our panelists. So our next awardee, Mr. Levin Purcell, for sharing his knowledge as a panelist for the 6th Student Speak Out. Mr. Lev, are you there?
Yeah.
All right.
Hi. Hello.
Do you have any last words before we give you your certificate?
I would just like to thank everyone again for this wonderful discussion and exchange of ideas. And it's really an honor for me to be here with you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, and our last but not least speaker, Mr. Rishav Kant. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge as a panelist. And all of these certificates are signed by our president and our CEO, Ms. Mitsuyo Tamai, signed by me, the project head, and the IZ CEO, Soma Kamakura. So thank you very much. Do you have any last words before we end our Zoom call?
I have a last one that I hope that many people join the SSO event to make it even more interesting, and that uses of technology must be honest, and please do not misuse the technology for your own benefits.
All right, I think that is a very inspiring and a very touching speech. Thank you so much, Mr. Rishav. All right, so before we end our Zoom call for today, lastly, I would just like to thank everybody. I hope that the audience next time, please join our future SSO events. And before we end, I would just like to invite you that this is our tentative plan for the 7th SSO. So this will be a special SSO event. The topic will be the food in our plates, importance of agriculture and food education. So if you're interested, or any of your friends are interested in learning about agriculture, about, I don't know, plants, or in your home country, if you have any ideas to share, please feel free to join our next SSO. This is our tentative date, March 26, 2022, at the same time, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Japan time. And as you can see, We have ended a bit earlier today, but I guess it's all right because it's a Saturday. Everybody should take a rest as well. But lastly, before we end our program, I would just encourage everyone to please open their cameras because we will have a picture taking for documentation. So to those who have cameras, please open your camera if you can. All right, so thank you again, everyone, for attending the 6th SSO. This has been a very wonderful time with you, and I hope to see you again next time. Hopefully, you guys attend the next SSO events and invite your friends as well if they are interested in learning about other things from other people, or if they want public speaking, or maybe just improve their communication skills. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.